this is Karina and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be talking about how you can ace your HSC results and get a really high ATAR. In my view, a great HSC result is obtaining an ATAR of over 95 and above. If you get an ATAR of over 95, that means you can pretty much get into any university degree that you want. Full disclaimer, my ATAR was 96.1, which I was really happy with because I was able to get into the university degree that I wanted. So make sure to watch this video right until the end because I'll be telling you exactly what I did step by step in order to get an ATAR of 96.1. The first thing that I did was have above my desk the mark that I was aiming to get as my ATAR. That mark was 99.95. This was the maximum ATAR possible. So I remember looking at that mark every single day that I studied thinking, this is the mark that I'm going to get. So it all started with up here. As you know, the HSC is a 2-year course. So the way that I was studying in year 11 is exactly the way that I was studying in year 12. And so I already had the basis of how I was planning to study for the HSC in year 12. The third thing that I had was I had a study schedule, a very strict one, which I followed every single week for 2 years straight. The reason the study schedule worked was because I was a boarder. So I was essentially sleeping at school, eating at school, and spending all my time in school. And so there was like nothing to do except study. You're probably wondering what my study schedule looked like. So let me tell you. So I'd wake up at 7, at 9 o'clock I'd be at school. School would finish around 3:30-ish. By 4 o'clock, I would start my study. So 4 to 6 would be my first block of study. Then 6 to 7 would be dinner time every single day for 2 years straight, boarding house rules. And then 7 to 9 would be the second block of study that I would do. And then 9 to 9:30-ish, 10 o'clock, I would take a break. And then from 10 to 12 or 10 to 11, that would be my third block of study for the night. On the weekends, it was kind of a similar schedule. So I would probably do a block of study between 10 to 1, and then have lunch between 1 and 2. And then I'll maybe do 2:30 to 6 o'clock. That'll be my second block of study, and then 6 to 7 dinner. And then maybe 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, I'll do my third block of study. The really interesting thing that I learned about me while I was doing this study schedule is that the more I studied, the more I wanted to study. So I couldn't wait to go to sleep and then do the whole school day the next day and get to my study blocks. The study blocks was like the most exciting part of my day. All right, so now I'm going to tell you which subjects I did for the HSC. So I did 3-unit English, 3-unit maths, 3-unit French, and 2-unit music. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I studied for all of them. With music, there's 2 components. The first component, which weighs the most, is you have to play an instrument. That includes singing. The second component is a listening exercise, and that weighs a lot less, maybe 10% of your mark or something like that. So in terms of playing an instrument, I played the piano. I try to play the piano every single day, and I would generally do it around lunchtime, or if I didn't manage to do it at lunchtime, then I would probably do it straight after school. On the weekends, I would probably practice in the mornings, and I would say that in total, for one day, I wouldn't be doing more than 1 hour of piano practice. With playing an instrument, practice makes perfect, so the more you practice, the better you're gonna be at it, and that's what happened with me. In terms of the second component with music, you have to listen to various songs. I can't remember how many, maybe 4 or 5, and you have to analyze them and explain the musical elements into an essay. I probably started listening to songs and analyzing them maybe 6 months before the HSC. And once you do a few of them, you get a hang of the language that you have to use, and so it becomes easier and easier. The second subject that I'm going to be talking about is maths. Maths is probably one of my favorite subjects in school because you're either wrong or you're right. There's like no middle ground. Don't get me wrong, I found maths to be really hard. But in a way, it was easier than other subjects because you knew what the answer was. So you were like working towards the end goal. You already knew the end goal, you just needed to know how to get there. So the way that I would study for maths is once we did a topic in school, let's say derivatives, I would then go home and I would make my own notes in respect of the theory. So I would write down maybe the top bit of my notes would be all theory. It would just be like the formulas and explaining what everything means and putting graphs and whatever else. So underneath the theory, I would be putting down types of exercises. So the thing that I learned about maths is that there are types of exercises within each topic. And there is not an infinite amount of exercises within each topic. Rather, there is a finite number of exercises within each topic. So there's only a limited amount of exercises that you can get on a particular topic. So what I would do is, underneath my theory, I would write down each possible exercise within that topic. But then when I come back to this topic, it will be really easy for me to find a particular exercise and know exactly how to solve it because it was already there. If a particular exercise was really difficult and I thought that it's likely to come in the HSC, then I would probably put an asterisk near it, and then I would definitely make sure to read it each time I would come back to this topic. It was really useful to have my own notes because before each exam that I would have, I was able to go back to my notes and see exactly what that topic is all about. My best advice about maths is not to be too harsh on yourself if you don't remember a particular topic. This is the whole purpose of your notes. And this is exactly what I did. I didn't expect myself to remember a topic that I did like 2 months ago. But because I had really good notes, I was able to go back to that topic and refresh my memory on exactly what that topic was. The other thing that I did with maths was I made sure that I did every single exercise in the textbook, and then I also made sure that I did all the past papers that I could get my hands on going back maybe 10 years. Another topic that I did for my HSC was French. You can probably do what I did with French with any other language that you're studying. With French, there was basically 3 skills: listening, speaking, and writing. In terms of the speaking exercise, I thought of every single question that you could possibly be asked, and then I had an answer in a few 4 or 5 sentences underneath it. I would be speaking to myself probably at least once a week, going over my full page of notes. I could essentially tell you the full pages of notes upside down and inside out. I knew them like off by heart, in my sleep, 100%. There was not one question that you could ask me that I didn't have an answer to. So you need to work out a story about yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be the truth. All that matters is that you talk for 4 or 5 sentences when someone asks you a question. In terms of the listening exercise, I always had the French teacher speak French in class. So at least 1 hour a day, I would be exposed to French because of the French teacher. On the weekends, I would sometimes watch French movies with English subtitles, or I would be listening to the French news. With the writing skills, it's a little bit more tricky because when you're speaking, you don't have to worry about grammar. But when you're writing, you have to worry about grammar. And with French, the grammar is hard. I would say that I was writing in French 1 to 2 pages probably every single day because our French teacher was always giving us a topic to write on. The other thing that I did in French was I would read French books, and any word that I didn't know what it meant, I would write it down and look up the translation. Once I finished a chapter, then I would go back to those words and try and learn them off by heart. And I would come back to those words in a week's time and try and see if I can remember what they meant. This technique made sense to me because in order to learn a language, you have to be able to learn what words mean. So the more words that you know, the more of that language you know. Because I was reading French books, I was learning a lot of words, which really helped to build my vocabulary in the French language. If you're studying a language for HSC, then I encourage you to read a book in that language and learn as many words as you possibly can. I actually did French extension, and in French extension, we actually studied a French novel. And so I found a French extension to be a fusion between English and French because not only were you learning a lot of vocabulary, a lot of new words in this novel, but you were also looking at analyzing the themes and the scenes within that book and writing essays about it. The 4th subject that I studied for the HSC was English. So I did 2-unit English and then I did Extension 1 English. English was a tricky one because you were studying certain novels or plays, and then when you're writing your essay, you also had to refer to other novels and plays that had the same themes as the ones that you were studying. So let's say you were studying Hamlet by Shakespeare and the themes were love and hate. You also had to find other novels and plays that had the same themes of love and hate. And you had to bring those in and say how it all ties in together. My biggest tip with English is that you structure your essays in a similar way. The way that I would structure the essays is as follows. At the top, I would have the introduction. Underneath that, I would introduce the themes. So usually 2 or 3 themes within the novel that I'm studying at school. Underneath that, I would be taking each theme individually and talking about it separately. So for example, in terms of the first theme, I would be talking about it generally, and then I will be talking about it specifically relating to the novel that I'm studying in school, and I would be putting in probably 2 or 3 scenes from the book which proves my point. After that, I would bring in my other novels that I've taken from outside school and have the same themes as the novel from school. And then I would go to my second theme and I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll talk about the second theme, and then I'll talk about 2 to 3 scenes within the novel that I'm studying in school. And then I would bring in the other novels and talk about how that relates to that theme. And then I would talk about the third theme. And once I've done that, I would probably do like a specific conclusion about all of those themes. And then I would do a big conclusion about the whole thing. The way that I studied for English was I would have my themes for each book. I don't know, maybe 10, 12, something like that. And then underneath those themes, I would have my 2 to 3 scenes within the book that I chose to talk about specifically. So analyze certain scenes within the book. And then once I have my themes and I have my scenes ready to go, I can just mold what I know to fit the question. Again, with English, I feel like it's the same with maths in the sense that there's only so many things that they can ask you. It's not an infinite amount of questions they can ask you. There is a finite number of questions they can ask you. You got your themes. They're probably going to ask you something about those themes or something that relates to those themes. And if you have those down pat, then when it comes to the HSC, you just pick which one you're going to talk about. And all you have to do is amend your introduction and amend your conclusion to fit the question, because your themes are you already know what you're going to talk about basically. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope it helps you get a really high ATAR. You should be aiming to get the top mark, 99.95. Good luck.